Hello guys, welcome to the PH Nutrition podcast. I am Chloe and I am one of the coaches at PH Nutrition, and today we are delighted to be joined by Beth Robinson. Beth has an amazing online presence promoting body acceptance within CrossFit and inspiring many girls to feel confident. She talks very openly about dealing with the way we feel about our body in relation to our food and training. Beth is actually part of our Female Performance Project squad and has worked with us over the last 8 weeks or so to optimise fueling for her training as she competes in both CrossFit and weightlifting, and she loves her swimming too. Her YouTube channel has really taken off recently. I've really enjoyed watching her videos and it's been keeping me up to date with all the things going on in the CrossFit world. Beth, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. And how are you doing?
Yeah, really good, thanks. Yeah, just quite tired and struggling with the heat, but other than that.
Oh my God, honestly, it makes me really dozy. I feel like I just have no idea what's going on. I'm a bit out of it. So, yeah. Have you been training? Have you been training in the heat? How are you feeling with training in the heat?
I've been really struggling. I had a massive car crash of a session on Friday, and I had to honestly quit halfway through, and I never do that, and I felt really bad about doing it, but equally I'm trying to work on balance and listening to my body, and my body was not okay. As you know, I clean and jerk about 100 kilos, and I was so really struggling with 65 kilos, which is embarrassing for me.
You're like, what is
so I was this is not okay, there's something wrong and I just need to call it. So I did. But yeah, other than that, it's going really well. And yeah, I like that the swimming was in the intro, because I love swimming.
Oh, yeah.
But I've not allowed myself to swim for years. So.
Yeah, that's your thing at the moment, isn't it? Swimming? I love that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's definitely something we've been talking about a lot when you've been on the Female Performance Plan is, allowing yourself to listen to your body and be like, okay, I don't need to train at full send every single time I do a session. It's just, it's so important to be aware of that. So, okay, let's get stuck into it. I've got loads of questions for you, and I'm sure we'll end up talking about food, because that's kind of what we always tend to do, isn't it? So, first things first. So, tell us about your training at the moment. What kind of training have you been doing over the last few months? What are the goals at the moment? Yeah, tell me everything.
Ooh, last few months. So, I think I have to do the last year, because it's changed quite a lot. So I was really competitive in CrossFit before lockdown, and then during lockdown everything was up in the air, and one of the gyms I was going to shut, and it was all over the place. So I had to move gyms because the gym I went to shut that I was doing CrossFit at, and I started doing weightlifting for 4 months and really loved it, and just started working towards competing in Olympic weightlifting. I really enjoyed it, but then I still felt like there was something missing, and I think I was missing that CrossFit cardio kind of thing. And then my coach that was at the gym, who's still my coach in weightlifting now, left that gym and moved elsewhere, so it meant they weren't running the barbell club anymore. So I changed gyms again and went back to a CrossFit gym, and then started doing CrossFit again with weightlifting on the side, and that's the perfect balance for me, because I've always loved the weightlifting aspect of CrossFit, but previously I was no, weightlifting's a strength, you've got to work on your weaknesses, and I'd shame myself out of doing the weightlifting. But now I've let myself train how I want to train, because I'm an everyday athlete, even though I am working towards competing. It is the hobby, it's for fun. And yeah, so now I'm allowed to do the weightlifting alongside CrossFit, and then I've got a better balance with that. And then through working with you as well, I've started adding in other sports and fitness things that I love, that I've stopped myself from doing over the years, because I thought I had to be super dedicated and just do CrossFit. So yeah, so I worked up to competing in a weightlifting competition, which was a couple of months ago, and qualified for the English champs off the back of that. I got the qualifying total, cool. And I should be within the top 10. But there's a bit of a weird thing going on with that, and they accidentally qualified loads of people just by who bought the tickets fastest. So I'm not sure if I'm officially qualified for the English champs. Yeah, hopefully it's being sorted out. It sounds like it is being sorted out, so fingers crossed I will actually get to compete there. Otherwise it's the English Open. If you just let anybody that buys the tickets first, as long as they've got the total, there's barely anybody in my category, so it's not they're bringing the top 10, or they're not bringing the top lifters at the moment. They're just bringing random people that have got above the total, which doesn't make sense. But yeah. So hopefully competing in that. And then the CrossFit, I've moved from being quite competitive to just doing it for fun, and I do CrossFit competitions every now and then for enjoyment, because I've done I've probably competed in about 40 CrossFit competitions over the years. I've been doing it for 6 years, so I'm like quite competed out.
Yeah, it does get to that point, and I love that you know, you're doing these things that you enjoy. Like, I think we forget sometimes that training is there to be enjoyed. Like, we get into it because we enjoy it, and I think we feel this pressure to, obviously competing is so much fun, especially in CrossFit. Like, you know, it's in the summer doing team comps and stuff. It's so much fun, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm like a team athlete.
I think we get exactly, that's your thing, and like these fun comps, and I think we kind of get, you know, wrapped up, or like we think we should be, you know, training for something specific, or we should be training for, you know, all the time, going hard, and we forget that we can enjoy it as well. If we're not enjoying it, we should think, okay, well, do I need to kind of reassess? So it's nice that you actually do think, what am I enjoying right now? And that could change day to day, and obviously incorporating in other things. And I really hope that we see you in the weightlifting as well. I'll be gutted if we don't see you there. So I've got my fingers and toes crossed that we see you there, because I know you've worked very hard for it. So yeah, okay, awesome. So, you know, you're doing a lot, which is awesome. And we always see you nowadays on TikTok and YouTube. Your TikTok presence is super cool, and obviously YouTube is really taking off for you. So yeah, what kind of got you into doing those?
I've always wanted to do a YouTube channel, to be honest. I feel like, if you see that quote where it's like, your story can be like a roadmap for other people going through the same thing, and I've been through a lot of really tough stuff in my life, and a lot of ups and downs, like obviously the eating disorders, but like I've got bipolar disorder as well, and there's just lots of trauma and I felt like I had a bit of a calling to just like share that. And also I get so many questions on Instagram, that was where I got most of my following to begin with, that I just wanted to share it in more of like a long form way where it could be more informative. And I'm a teacher, so it's just that's my jam. I quite like that. And I also taught media students for a while, so I have the knowledge and the background in like video recording and editing and all of that. So it just seemed like a natural progression. But what held me back from it was that a lot of people were like really funny about me having an online presence, like in my personal life, and like kind of, you know how people can be like quite shameful towards you if you put yourself out there. And then so I met my partner, and he's the opposite of that. He's like so lovely and encouraging, and just kind of got me to do what I want to do and stop caring about other people's opinions. And yeah, long story short, that's what I did, and now it's going really well. And then the TikTok, great. Just because TikTok's fun, and it's kind of a mirror of my Instagram, but TikTok just seems to go really well because the algorithm's really good, and it really feeds it out to people that like need to see your content at that point in time, whereas Instagram doesn't do that so much. Yeah,
you definitely reach, like, I see a lot of girls reposting your stories on Instagram and reposting your TikToks and stuff. It obviously goes down really well with a lot of girls, and I think it's the kind of thing a lot of girls want to see, like body acceptance, feeling your best self. And, you know, it's a great thing for girls to be able to see on their social media when they open up their Instagram or they open up their TikTok, and you're there like smashing your handstand push-ups and your pull-ups and stuff. And, you know, girls are like, wow, oh my God, I want to be like Beth. It's amazing. And I'm sure you get a lot of positive feedback.
Yeah, I get a lot of shares. It's really interesting. I get a lot of shares when I talk about my weight a lot, and I've obviously been terrified about talking about my weight over the years. And the lightest I've ever really been in my adult life was like 74 kilos, which is still heavy. And like right now, as you know, I'm about 106 kilos, so which is like the equivalent of around 16 stone. And I was always terrified of being like over that 74, over around 11-12 kilos. And I think it's like women seeing somebody that is super heavy and is also clearly fit and able to do stuff like handstand push-ups and the gymnastics as well as the heavy weightlifting, and seeing the weight not as like a disadvantage, but like almost an asset in many ways. Like, it's what makes me super strong. So, and that's super hard for like women, just detaching their worth from their weight, and that's something I really want to help other people change. And I do find those are the videos that really go off and people relate to and then reshare. So I think we just need more of that. I wish I had someone like me posting when I was really struggling with my eating disorders back in the day. Yeah, maybe I wouldn't have gone down that hole. That's my thought.
Do you think that you posting about, you know, your training and stuff and how you feel, do you think that's helped you improve how you feel about all of your training and your weight and everything like that as well?
Yeah, 100%. So I started doing Instagram initially, back when I started CrossFit. That would have been like 2016. literally as a journal to kind of document my training and like what was going well, like kind of celebrate my little wins. And that fluctuated a lot. Like at one point there was a lot of like body checking and like how low in fat can I go, and that was not good. But then after that, when it kind of transformed into more like body acceptance, I was like, I wanted to start posting videos of my training because I felt like people would relate to stuff, and I didn't want to not post my PBs because I was worried about my stomach jiggling, which is something that is really hard for a lot of women. They're like, oh, I don't want to see a video of me because like I've got fat on my stomach and it moves. And then I started to think, like, why do we feel like this? Like, it's very normal for bodies to jiggle. Everybody's bodies move. So yeah, it kind of helped me accept my body, like seeing the videos, accepting that that's normal, and then posting them online. And then all of my captions are me sort of coaching myself. It's not everything that I've not fixed everything. That's me talking myself through things, and like I don't always feel 100%, and I don't always feel like I'm like worthy and like I accept my weight and my body size. But that Instagram it's like almost like an outlet, like a journal for me still.
Yeah, I think we're like, it's crazy, isn't it? Because whatever shape or size or whatever we are, like however we look, we're always going to have those little body image things, aren't we? Like I feel like it's completely normal because of probably the society we live in. Everyone comments on it anyway. That's always a thing, isn't it? Like I remember that the number of videos I have not posted on Instagram over the past however many years I've been training, because I'm like, my belly's jiggling. It's just mad, isn't it? Like no one else cares and no one else is looking. No. And I've heard this from lots of other girls as well. Like, and they're like, didn't post it because my belly, or they post it and they're like, the only thing I can look at here is my belly. And it's like, why are we so wrapped up in this when we're like you lift 100 kilos above your head? Do you know what I mean? Like that's the thing that we should be focusing on here. It's just mad.
And other people don't see it either. That's what I started to realise. People don't notice that jiggle on your stomach. Like, I posted one video, I was super, super lean, and I didn't post it back when I took the video, but I did post it. And that went on my TikTok actually recently. And because I used to be a lot bigger than I even am now, and I lost a lot of weight, so I've got like loose skin on my stomach. And even when I was super lean, you could still see that like jiggle. And I was so insecure about this video, like I didn't delete it, but I just like shoved it into a folder at the back of my phone somewhere and didn't think about it for years. And then I reposted it. I was like, oh my God, like why did I even think that about my body? Like, that's so normal. And nobody else noticed. Even when I reposted it, I like pointed out the bit that I was insecure about. And people are like, what are you on about? But that is clearly it's the eating disorder there, isn't it?
It's mad, isn't it? Because you wouldn't point out these things on your friends. You wouldn't even think these things about your friends, would you? Like, you would never say these things to your friends, so why do we say them to ourselves?
People have said those things to me and like poked and prodded me and like pointed out my like flaws to me in the past and had quite nasty things to say about my body. So my automatic assumption is that other people would say that, and actually people do say that on TikTok to me. But no, I don't care. No, regular people, nice people don't.
Yeah, exactly. Like there are just some people out there, and it's like what you obviously have nothing better to do with your life than just say horrible things about women's bodies.
Yeah.
But that actually brings me on to my next question as well, because you're very interactive, I guess the word is, online, which is great. Like there's so many posts that I've seen you comment on, and you're very graceful about it. Like the CrossFit post with the sugar, like you bring up really good points and stuff. And I think it's great because you do start, you start this talk with people and people will listen to you. And when you go on, I've seen some of your TikToks and you're like responding to people's comments that aren't particularly nice from trolls and things like that. But then you also must get, like, because we see some of the kind of more negative ones because you respond to them in a great way. But you also, I'm sure you probably get a lot of positive things. So have you had, positive comments from girls that you've really impacted that you could share with us as well?
Oh yeah, I have actually got a little folder on my phone that's like just called like lovely comments, because I save them because I do get so much hate comments. Then sometimes if I feel really bad, I go back and look at the stuff, and like it really varies from like I get loads on the daily basis. Like, you've encouraged me to wear shorts and a sports bra to the gym. I did it today, and like I'm so happy about it. It's literally because of your videos. And then I get other people like, oh, I've started CrossFit because of you. And then I get some like literal essay messages like, you've changed my life in this way, this way, this way. And I literally I can't accept that I'm having that impact on people. It doesn't feel like it's me, and I really want to get to a place where I can be like, no, I've done that. But even as I'm saying it right now, I can't believe that I have had that impact. And equally, they are also responsible for that impact. They've seen my videos and they've chosen to act on it, and they've chosen to take themselves into the gym and wear what they want because I've encouraged them in some way. So I feel like they have ownership over that, not me. But
yeah,
but
yeah,
loads
it's
of lovely
amazing.
messages.
It's amazing because when you do have those girls message you and you engage with all these people, it is building this kind of like this community and this presence. And girls, I don't think we realize what we need to see until we see it, and then we see that and it's like, this is incredible. And as a side note, you always have the cutest outfits, like your sports bra and shorts outfits. They're so colourful. I'm like, oh my god,
some people would disagree.
I love it.
I get so much hate on my clothes. I get so much love and so much hate on my clothes when people are like, why are you wearing that combination? And like I've got loads of neurodiversities, and I'm really bad at, I've got like a light sensitivity thing, so I don't really understand what colours match and what don't. So I've just given up. I don't care. I'll just wear what I like, and I don't care that the patterns clash. Like, so I look like I'm dressing really loudly. Like, maybe it's kind of like dopamine dressing. I think people have probably heard of that. Yeah, I just wear what I want, and
I love it.
It makes me happy, and I don't.
You've got to do what makes you happy. Yeah, and it makes you. I feel like when you wear a nice outfit to the gym, it does make you train like 10 times better as well. You're like, yes, you feel
definitely.
so good. So.
Yeah, and also comfortability as well. So I've got like quite a lot of sensory issues, and I get really, really hot. So I have to wear like shorts and a sports bra, and I hate wearing leggings in the winter, but like sometimes my legs get a bit cold, but then I'm like halfway through the workout, I'm like dying and just want to take my clothes off. So
just strip on the gym.
Literally, and I'm like, no, you can't take them off. Like, you can't train in your underwear. Like, you should have just worn shorts. But it's like my sensory issues massively outweigh the potential judgment from other people. So I'm like, I'd rather listen to myself and how uncomfortable I am than what some random thinks about my body.
There's some random guy on TikTok sat behind his phone, just exactly,
with the vomit emojis and stuff that they put up. Like, I had one guy that called one of my most popular videos. Some guy called me a whale and put loads of like vomit emojis, and I'm just like,
it's just
thanks.
Oh my god, it's just like,
and at the moment, the
mind.
hate massively outweighs the positivity I'm getting on TikTok, so I'm actually not really reading my comments at all because I'm getting so much hate. I'm barely spending any time on the platform like reading comments or replying to comments because it's overwhelming. And also equally, I get a load of people that say, oh, ignore the trolls, and it's like that. I know they mean well, but that is just as helpful as saying to a kid at school, like, ignore the bullies. Like, it doesn't do anything, and it is really unhelpful because I can't ignore them because they are literally taking over my platform, or it's all I see. It might not be all anybody else sees, but like, you just see your comments, don't you? Other people don't see your comments because they don't get the notifications. But when it's literally a wall of, you're a whale, you're disgusting, all that sort of stuff, it is difficult.
It just makes it like so much more like, I think, meaningful and important because you are putting yourself out there as well, and like people do, you continue to do it and people appreciate it because it's challenging with the world we live in where we feel like we have the right to comment, and I think people don't even realise. I mean, obviously things like that extreme, they know they're doing it, but some people don't even realise that they're doing it sometimes. So
no, you get the weird backhanded ones as well that are like, especially when you're like a bigger girl, you get like, oh, you're so brave for wearing that, and I'm like, why am I brave though? Like, what they're saying is your body doesn't fit the beauty standard, therefore you must be really brave to wear that, or you're so confident. I'm like, I'm literally not. I'm like the most anxious person in the world, so you've clearly decided that I'm confident because I'm wearing a shorts and a sports bra, which is like, you're just saying you shouldn't be wearing that, so you're very confident to be wearing that. And that, although it comes across like a nice comment, it's actually not a nice comment, but a lot of people don't realise that. So yeah, it's hard. It's all swings and roundabouts. But there's a lot of like fat phobia out there, and like hate on people that have body fat at all. And actually body fat is quite normal to have.
Body fat is so normal, and I think like people forget that people's bodies change as well. Like someone that you know might weigh something at some point, they might weigh something different at another point, and the worth is not determined on whether their weight goes up and down.
Yes.
You know, your weight is just where you are in your life and in your goals and your body, and it's like, you know, your body's going to change based on everything else going on in your life. It's not going to stay the same.
And that's incredible,
even from day to day.
Yeah, that's so cool that our bodies can do that. And if you think about it as well, like my body has been a lot of different sizes, and I'm like as muscular as I've ever been now because I've been doing the weightlifting. But back when I was doing like triathlons, I was really slender, and then when I was doing CrossFit, I had like huge delts for some reason, and like a six pack, and like proper lean, but like also not small. So my body has shifted loads to kind of suit what I'm doing, and I really like that about it, and I expect it to continue to do that throughout my life. And I've given up trying to mold it into something based on how it looks. I just want to feel my best for what I'm doing at that time, and I think that's absolutely that's a good way to look at it.
Like, our bodies are literally here to carry us through our lives and support what we are doing. Like, we've all been watching the Commonwealth Games, and like we look at all the different athletes, and they all have different bodies based on their sport. Like, it's not like they all look exactly the same just because they're athletes. They all have very different bodies because their bodies are doing different things to support that sport. So talking on sport and like, bodies.
Sorry.
I'll go on. You and then I'll carry on.
So I think our problem is with thinking athletes don't look like that is we've been massively marketed like fitness models as what athletes look like, so they often wear the clothing that we're supposed to do our sports in. And I had it was an Olympic athlete, I won't mention her name, but she's a Paralympian, and she was like, I never feel like I look like an athlete, but she's literally a fucking gold medalist. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear. She's a gold medalist, and she thinks she doesn't look like an athlete, but it's because we see the adverts from one of the brands, and they're representing people that train to look good all of the time, and they train for those photos. They don't train to do the sport that matches with the clothing that they're wearing. Does that make sense? I think that's our problem. So we expect when we look at the Commonwealth Games for it to be people that look like fitness models, whereas actually bodies change depending on your sport. Nobody looks the same.
Yeah, exactly. So in terms of, we've got different sports, got different, athletes and different bodies. Why do you think, in terms of the actual workouts we're doing, why do you think girls struggle? Because one of the biggest problems that I've seen in my life as a coach is girls not getting enough fuel to fuel these workouts because they're worried about gaining weight, or they're eating too much, and it's like we need to eat a certain amount in order to train hard, right? So what do you think, and you can answer this from like a personal point of view as well, what do you think girls struggle with so much in getting that food specifically for training? Like, what do girls find hardest about getting that food
the food in, or like
like mentally, like having,
or mentally
choosing to eat more to train?
I've definitely been that girl, and it's so hard. It's like, especially if you struggle with any sort of eating disorder or like disordered eating of some sort, it's having all of those messages in your head that like carbs are bad, or like you shouldn't be eating this, you should just be eating like whole foods, or you shouldn't be eating you shouldn't be going out for meals, or you should only have a certain amount of calories per day. Like, again, on TikTok at the moment, there's this huge, 1,200 calories trend, and it's like, you've got all of this messaging that it's ridiculous, right? All this messaging from outside media saying that this is bad for you, and basically everything is bad for you if you listen to the internet. There is nothing out there that is good for you. So eating more is just hard when you've got all of, because they subconsciously just get into your brain. And then for me anyway, I find that sometimes when I go to my fridge and I've seen something that's like, carbs are the worst thing ever, I'm like, well, I can't eat that. So yeah, that's really hard. And then gaining weight is terrifying for a lot of us because we're all taught that we need to be light, and even like BMI is so skewed. Like, I know loads of people that are in the healthy range of BMI but are definitely not healthy, and I know loads of people that are in the obese range of BMI and they are very healthy. So we're always taught that we need to be lighter, so the thought of gaining weight is terrifying, understandably, because our whole society is against that.
I think what I find with the Female Performance Project, we're trying to get girls to fuel their training. And so often I find that when we give girls their plans and I chat to them about how much I want them to eat, they're like, oh my God, I can't eat that much food. And often it's not actually a huge amount more than they're already eating, because I'm not going to make them eat a load on top of what they're already eating, because that's not fair and it makes them feel uncomfortable. But we seem to think that we're going to eat just a little bit extra and we're just suddenly going to like gain a stone just from eating a tiny bit more. Which is mad. Like, we seem to think that we're just going to suddenly like inflate straight away. But it takes a long time to gain actual, body fat or weight or whatever. And it's important to kind of remember that we are doing it in order to train harder. And, when we're feeling low on energy, we feel ratty, we feel hangry, we go to a training session and we feel wiped, we can't put any energy in. It's because we don't have the energy to supply that workout, which is energy comes from food. That, like, where else are you going to get it from? You're not going to magically click your fingers and be like, energy. I remember seeing I think it was a Tony Robbins video, and I think he's quite fun to watch, isn't he? But he was like, oh, you can create energy by like jumping around. I'm like, well, it doesn't really work if you don't actually have any food in the tank. Like, you need to create energy from a source. Like, you can't just be like, I have energy. It doesn't quite work like that.
That's the equivalent of the like think positive when you're struggling with mental health.
Yes, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh God.
It's like I just suddenly create energy out of nothing. Okay, so you've managed to kind of get more food into train. You're feeling the benefits. So what have you changed in terms of your training and incorporating foods into your diet? What specific foods or what timings or anything in particular you've added in that's kind of helped with your training over the last couple of months?
Yeah, so you've massively helped me. I mean, you know that already, but like, especially with like nutrition timing around my workout. So eating like carbohydrate based foods before my workout has really helped me with my training, especially going into the summer where I'm not at work as a teacher. I am training like twice in the morning, and you did point out to me that I need to eat food if I'm doing a 2-hour session, and I was like initially like, I can't do that, but like now I literally eat at the gym, which is weird for me, but that is really important. And then like I think we've addressed so many random eating disorder habits that I didn't realise I still had, like my aversion to fruit, which I thought I hated fruit. My God. And I don't hate fruit at all. I shamed myself out of eating fruit and now I love it, and I add it in and it makes me feel amazing, and it does help me recover because it's that boost of sugar, but it's also the nutrients and stuff that I need. And then we initially addressed the fat thing, didn't we? Like, everything I owned was low fat, no fat, whatever. And I eat real cheese, and it makes me so happy because I love real cheese.
Cheese is so good.
Yeah, I know. And I was eating that awful, like, plastic tasting 50% fat cheese that you get. It's gross, and it only tastes good when you melt it. And now I can literally eat it out of the packet. It's so good. And I haven't gained a million stone. I've just like, I can just add it into meals that I need to, and then it like really helps in the later stage of my cycle, like in my, I've forgotten, lose your face. Yeah, towards the end of my cycle, I think we worked out that I was having like kind of not binges, but like I was eating a lot of fat. Like, I had the mac and cheese and black pudding all mixed together, and like with loads of cheese on top. Good. Just fat on fat on fat, and then like salmon, and I was having a lot of peanut butter, and I was just clearly craving fat towards the end of my cycle. And because I'd been restricting it by basically not having any additional fat in my diet, I think that was my body trying to tell me something. And since I've changed that, it's really changed my energy levels. Oh yeah, and there's the eating huge portions of vegetables that I was doing, because from
God.
diet culture, I thought that I had to eat large volumes of vegetable to stay full. So I was going through like a 450-gram bag of spinach every single week, and I'm like, why am I so bloated?
Honestly, the volume veggies is the thing.
Oh
I have a confession to make. I meant to message you about this the other day, but I was volume veggieing for a while, like a few months ago. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm so bloated. And I was like, I'm literally just like loading myself up with broccoli. Chloe, stop it. And the girls on the female performance plan, they come to me and they're like, I'm so bloated. I'm like, are you volume veggieing? Like, are you eating loads of broccoli?
It's probably the same time as she said it to me. I think you were actually doing it yourself. That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, but now I know,
and
I can eat veggies if I want a huge bowl of spinach, or if I want a huge amount of broccoli, or if I want additional veg in my meals that I have, then I can do that and respond to my body in that way. But I don't have this random rule that I have to have like a fistful of vegetables at least with every meal, which is kind of what I was going by. Especially in the later stages of my cycle, it was just making me really bloated, and now I feel great, and my energy is better because, like you said, I'm not digesting an entire bag of spinach.
It's mad, isn't it? I think as well, like I know that when in the past, when I've been on like crazy diets and I can have like, I don't know, like 50 grams of chicken breast and like 20 grams of rice or something, and then you end up bulking your meals out with loads of veggies because you're like, I need to fill myself up. But we shouldn't like be like, obviously veggies, we need to be getting our vegetables in. Nutrient density is super important, but there are times when, you know, when we are in the later stages of our cycle coming up to our period and our digestion is slower, if we're stuffing ourselves full with veggies, it's just going to make us feel really, really rubbish. So, you know, there's a time and place for certain veggies. Obviously, we still want to be getting colours in and stuff. But yeah, like having, you know, stuffing ourselves full of broccoli and garlic and onions and all the kind of foods that don't digest very well with us, like it's not going to make us feel any good. So it makes a big difference. Are there any?
I remember there was like a remarkable difference though. Like it was day 1, and I messaged you like, "What has happened?" Like I've gone from having no energy to feeling absolutely fine. Crazy.
Yeah, because that digestion carries over because your body's so busy digesting food, and then you know it doesn't have the energy to do other things because it's focusing on digestion. So it's another way of like partitioning that energy somewhere else as well. If we can allow ourselves, this is why it's so important to allow ourselves to have, you know, sugary foods, fruits, dried fruit, you know, saurine, rice cakes, honey, things like that people maybe go, ooh, can't have that. And it's like, actually, if we have these things, they digest a lot more efficiently, and our body can now focus on training and doing other things without feeling sluggish and tired, because it's not having to focus on digesting, you know, a 450-gram bag of spinach at the same time as going and doing some lifting, because, you know, it can just concentrate on that. So.
And the liquid calories as well. I was scared of liquid calories, and like now I drink smoothies and I love them. And obviously it's like blended up fruits. That's like a double whammy of things that I was terrified to do, but they make me feel amazing. And that's all of those. There's so many more things I learned doing the performance plan, but yeah, we've tackled a lot, and it's definitely helped. And I wish more women could realise that all of these things that we've put into our diets, because it's come from diet culture, like you can actually feel so much better if you just eat in a way that is actually good for your body and stop listening to all of that crap. I
think as well what you said about fats, I think one of the common themes I do see a lot of is the 0% fat everything. And I do it as well. Like I go to the supermarket and I automatically buy 0% fat yogurt, 5% fat beef mince. Like I never buy I don't know the last time I ate chicken thighs. It's like things like that, isn't it? It's just
I love chicken
we automatically go for those lower fat things. And you know, it depends on our goals. Okay, if it's goal dependent, if we are trying to lose weight, it is easier to just kind of like have those, because it's a little bit an easy way to tick off like a few calories out. But then, you know, if we're trying to kind of just be healthy and balanced and support training, and we don't have like a specific weight loss goal, we have other goals, strength, then there's nothing wrong with we need fats in our diet anyway. We need essential fatty acids. We need all these things going in. We're going to feel much better if we actually incorporate them in. So yeah, I think it's a trend that I have this conversation with a lot of girls, and I'm like, well, why don't you have some 5% yogurt? And they go, 5% yogurt? And it's like, well, yes, just have a little bit. It's not going to, you know, and again, we think we're going to like turn into like suddenly blow up and turn into a balloon just because you have 5%
it's because
yogurt.
Of the, like, it's 9 calories per gram or something, isn't it? And like carbs and protein are like 4 or something like that. But it's also totally possible to lose weight whilst eating the real cheese and that kind of thing, and like the 5% yogurt.
Exactly.
Which I didn't really think about. I just thought I have to, when you go on a diet and you're like, I have to eat the lowest calorie version of everything. Like, it's actually not true at all. And no, I feel much fuller and it actually, as well when I just eat the regular stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same. Like, if you actually have these foods in your diet, you allow yourself to eat more fats, then you're not like, your body isn't in a state of craving it. So you're not going to be like, oh, I really wish I could have some higher fat food, because you're already having it in your diet. So you actually end up eating like a decent amount of food and stopping because you've had enough food and you've got those, the nutrients the body needs as well.
And actually that's a good point, because I've not had like a mac and cheese craving for ages, which was what I was having. I was getting to the end of my luteal phase and I was like, oh my god, I need mac and cheese, and with extra cheese and all of the butter and as much as I could get. But I haven't had that for
so much cheese.
Well, since I started the plan, so since I started eating fat again.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? You give your body what it needs and then it's like, okay, cool, I'm good, thanks. So good. So what tips would you give to girls that maybe are struggling to eat more, eat certain foods? I know we kind of like often have those kind of fear foods, and it's something I've had in the past, like pasta. I was like, oh, I can't eat pasta, but like there's certain foods, aren't there? What advice would you give to girls who are worried about eating more or eating certain foods?
Well, so the first thing, like with fear foods, the first thing I did was write down all of the fear foods that I have, and I still have a few. There's still a few on the list that I know I've not tackled, but just picking one every so often and trying to work on it and just adding it into your diet like every so often. And then like I find sort of like affirmations towards myself, but not really like I'm not saying them out loud. But every time I hear those thoughts come in, like, oh, you should be eating that, or anything like that, I'm like, no, I need this fuel. And I'll say to myself, I need this bagel because I'm going to train in a bit and I want to have the energy to do my training. So I almost justify, not that I need to justify it, but it's helpful for me to say to myself, I need this because I want to achieve this. And to sort of reinforce that within myself, that I need to have the food to fuel my body rather than coming from like a restriction sort of mindset, if that makes sense. And it's just like constantly kind of assessing what my mind is doing and how I'm feeling about food, and also doing the check-ins with you are really helpful because it gives me like once a week where I have to reflect on everything and all of these things come up, and then it gives me like new goals to work on for the week. Because I've noticed like something that I'm doing that's a bit disordered, or like, because I think the other week I was pretty scared just because my calories had increased by 100 calories, which is literally nothing, but it did. I don't know why, but 100 calories seems like loads, and to everybody else it's probably seems like nothing. And so, like to you, if you were like, I'm increasing my calories by 100 calories, I'd be like, yeah, it's nothing. But for some reason it feels like it's different when it's you. You're like, I'm an exception to the rule, which isn't true at all. But
it is though, isn't it? We think we're like, well, I'm going to be the one to gain a load of weight from 100 calories.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that, everybody else needs the fuel for their training, but like I'm an exception. Like I don't need that. I need to restrict myself, and it's noticing all of those intrusive thoughts that come up and addressing them, and almost seeing that like eating disorder voice as like another being, or like a thing in my head that I can have a conversation with, that I would with somebody that was saying really problematic eating disorder things to me in person. I would have a chat with them and be like, that is not okay, like you definitely need to eat. Yeah.
Another thing as well, like we've spoken about, is going, because you've been going away a lot and doing lots of lovely things and having meals out and stuff like that. And I think that can be quite challenging for a lot of girls in eating foods out. And the other day you went out for food and you sent me a picture. It looked absolutely incredible.
Oh,
but like, is there anything in terms of, because I know that can be a bit of a hard thing for girls to do if they have had disordered eating patterns or anything. Is there anything in terms of going out for food that maybe has changed or you feel better about now, or anything you've kind of done to make that easier on yourself as well?
Yeah, well, it's not got easier, it's got harder because of the calorie information on the menus, which is really frustrating. And that like triggers like a massive like mindset issue for me. So I get my partner to read out the menu to me in those situations. But I'm actually going to do a post on it today. So when I went out for my partner's birthday, we had like chicken waffles with like maple syrup, and then he got like a wrap, and then we halved them, and the portions are humongous. And because my relationship with food has improved so much, and I just allow myself to eat what I want to eat when I go out, and I allow myself to order what I want. But sometimes I do feel this guilt come up if I want to finish the plate, even though I'm full, if that makes sense. Because we're like taught, especially as I've done a bit of like intuitive eating in the past, and you're supposed to stop when you're full. And I'm like, well, no, I'm not gonna, this is amazing food. And actually, I'm gonna finish the plate, because even though I know I'm gonna be really full, it's not the end of the world. I've paid for this food, it was quite expensive, and I'm not gonna waste that just because I'm a little bit full. If I want to eat it, if I don't want to eat it, then I won't eat it. But I wanted to finish my plate, so I did. And that's a huge shift, because usually I would feel like mega guilty. And I had a chat to my partner about it, and I was like, well, because previously I would massively restrict after doing that, and if I felt too full, I'd be like, well, you're not allowed to eat now until tea time, like no lunch for you, sort of thing. And I was like, no, like maybe I'll eat in an hour, maybe I'll eat in 3 hours. My body will tell me when I'm hungry, and I'm allowed to eat if my body tells me that I'm hungry. And it was helpful, like you said, that I had to have like an off-plan meal every week. So over the last month or so, I've had quite a lot of events come up where I was definitely going to be eating off plan. And it's been helpful to like have that permission already there. But yeah, it's a weird one with that. I've had a lot of barbecues, and I went on the Vivo retreat where there was just unlimited food, which was terrifying for me, because I obviously my eating disorder is bulimia, so I was like terrified that I was going to overeat. And then like have like repercussions, but I didn't. And I like filled my plate, and I stopped when I was full, and I've never done that. I would always like overeat just because I'd taken it. But yeah, I think just building that healthier relationship with food all round. And I'm now able to listen to my hunger cues more, because I'm eating more frequently and I'm eating enough. And the hunger cues, like I would either be ravenous or not hungry at all. And I think actually in my check-ins with you, I saw that to begin with. I was like quite ravenous quite a lot, and then like recently I've just been like, nah, I'm not really that hungry. And it's because I'm eating consistently, and it's because I'm eating enough, I think. So like going up to a table where there's like loads of food, I'm not like, oh my god, I have to eat all of this. I'm like, oh, what do I want? I can always come back. Like there's always going to be more food, and I don't have that restriction mindset where I'm like, I have to eat now, otherwise I'm like, there's not going to be any food later, and I won't be allowed to eat for the rest of the day because I've eaten bad stuff.
There's like the time limit thing, isn't there? Like, oh well, you know, if I'm going to eat this, I have to eat it today, like before tomorrow, and when tomorrow comes, that's it. I can't. It's the time limit thing. Yeah, that's something I like struggle with a lot as well. It's like, has to be in this day. I can't have a cookie
eat the whole chocolate bar in one day, which I've actually stopped doing recently. Like, because I'm like, if I get a block of chocolate, like a big one, it's going in one sitting. There's no way that can sit in the cupboard. But recently, I've literally like got halfway through, and I'm like, nah, I don't really want it anymore. I'll just put it in the cupboard. And that is unheard of. Right now, there are like,
and you can
there
do
are cookies in the cupboard. There's like Martin's got 2 bars of chocolate that are like, it's all fine to be there. I've got chocolate spread in the cupboard, which I wouldn't have had like a year or two ago, because I would be terrified that I just go and like spoon it. But I'm allowed to have chocolate if I want chocolate. It's there if I need it. I don't feel like I need it all the time, and I have something chocolatey once a day at least anyway. So yeah,
I love it. So, okay, last question for me. One of the things I've been recommending a lot of the girls, and I know you've been doing this a lot as well, for fueling, you know, quick sugars and stuff like that, getting the food in for training, and it's hot, getting the smoothies in. What's your go-to smoothie at the moment? What are you putting in it?
So, what did I have last time? I put in like chocolate protein powder, milk, because I'm not one of these people that can have water in it. I'm not that person. Bananas, and then The other day I just put some spinach in it because I just wanted some spinach. I just felt like I need some nutrients, but it doesn't taste
You
very
need
good.
that
like
spinach in there.
Yeah, no, I'm obsessed with spinach. Lots and lots of ice. Forget the spinach. So bananas, chocolate, lots of ice, and I put some of the like xanthan gum in it. Have you heard of that? It makes it really
Oh, yeah, it
thick,
thickens
like
it
a
up, doesn't it?
McDonald's thick shake. Yeah, it was so
Oh my
good. I did
God.
it in a big blender. It was amazing. And then I've got some like food spring like protein cream, which is like it's like chocolate spread, but it's like
It's
protein.
really tasty, that stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, put a bit of that in it. So good.
Love
yeah,
it.
and that'll do.
Chocolate banana. Oh, dreamy.
chocolate
Okay.
banana.
So girls, get yourself some smoothies for your training, please. And there you go. You can have a
Or
chocolate banana
the other one I've
shake.
been doing is like I got like a bag of mixed berries that have got some like really chunky strawberries in it, and do that with banana, and then like strawberry protein powder, and obviously milk as well, and then again loads of ice, and those are my two that I have.
Yeah, sounds perfect. I love it. Amazing. Oh my goodness, what a great chat. I think we've kind of like covered everything I wanted to go through, so I'm super happy. Thank you so much for coming on board. I've wanted to get you on this podcast for ages. So where can people find a bit more info about you? And yeah, tell us where we can find you.
So I'm Sporty Beth on Instagram and on TikTok, and also on YouTube actually, so pretty easy to find. Or Sporty Beth CF, like so kind of like CrossFit. And literally, if you want like any videos on pretty much anything, like how to do your first pull up, or especially if you're a heavier girl, then just put in my name into YouTube and then pull ups, and there'll be a video on all of that. Yeah.
That's epic. I love it. Yeah, I love your YouTube channel at the moment. I've been watching it because it's the way I catch up with the CrossFit world these days. So I'm very much enjoying it.
I just did a few news videos over the CrossFit Games, but I think there's going to be more like lifestyle-y stuff over the next couple of weeks. And I've got a fair amount of my audience don't do CrossFit at all. So there's some CrossFit stuff, some not CrossFit stuff. Yeah.
Good. Love it. Okay, guys, thank you for listening. So today had Beth on board. Absolutely fantastic. So for more info on our programs and plans, please head to phnutrition.co.uk, and our Instagram is at @ph_nutrition. If you want more information about the Female Performance Project, which is a female-only nutrition platform focused on fueling girls for exercise, head over to @Female Performance Project on Instagram, and then our website is femaleperformanceproject.co.uk. If there's anything you want us to cover on this podcast, please slide into our DMs, drop us a message, and remember to share and rate the podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and see you later, Beth. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.